Greetings, Fiend and Fiendettes. It's time for yet another installment of Uberdemon's Movie Morgue. Um, just going to jump right into things. Start off with a teaser and go into a game segment. I'm going to briefly talk about this game right now. This is Atmosphere, the DVD board game, which started off as Nightmare back in the 90s, and evolved into Atmosphere. They have several different versions of the game. Games originally in Australia is big there. Is actually also big in France if you do a YouTube search because all these games had accompanying videos with them and all the expansions did. This is the most current permutation of the game's DVD board game. This one also had an expansion for Khufu the Mummy, which I would love to get my hands on. The thing that makes these cool are the interactive DVDs or videos and the hosts that have them and change the outcome of the game as things go along. I'm going to do a special video on this later and kind of a tribute to James Rolfe, more commonly known as the Angry Video Game Nerd and Board James. This kind of the Board James series kind of inspired me to do this and actually made me remember that I had this game. So James, keep doing what you're doing. I really enjoy your videos, and I look forward to seeing what you do. Look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. And I'm going to jump into horror on HD. I know it's not a horror film. Alice in Wonderland. It just came out on DVD and Blu-ray. Johnny Depp's in it. It's a Tim Burton movie. Can't go wrong in my opinion. I got this at Fry's for $15 the day it came out. Special Memorial Day sale. Good deal. Also at Fry's, I managed to pick up a copy of Wolfman on Blu-ray for $20. Same Memorial Day sale. Great deal. Day after Memorial Day. This is a great movie on Blu-ray. The sound and picture quality is excellent. I don't care what other people say. I still think this movie does for the Wolfman series what Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula did for the Dracula franchise. Moving on, the coolest Blu-ray I've gotten this week. I ordered it online and I finally got in the mail this week. City of the Living Dead, Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead on Blu-ray. And this has a lot of great special features, a lot of great interviews with cast and crew that worked with Fulci on this film, and their memoirs of working with the maestro himself. And apparently for this particular transfer, they did a new transfer based on the original uncensored camera negatives, and an unbelievable picture. This is the clearest, definitive cut and quality version of this movie ever in the United States. Arrow Videos has also released a version of this. They're a British company. They are also getting lots of praise for their releases of Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead on Blu-ray, and just for the amount of special features and stuff that extras and goodies that they cram into their packaging. And apparently there's no overlap between the features between the two releases. If you're wondering about getting the Arrow version, it's important to know that the movies only are NTSC encoded, so the movies will work on your normal Region 1 Blu-ray player because the discs are Region 0 and they're coded in NTSC. However, I hear that the special features will not work on a regular Region 1 NTSC Blu-ray player because they are in PAL format. So you'd need to get a Blu-ray player that can handle NTSC and PAL formatting from any region, or region free at least. I'm going to move on. I finally got the 100th issue of Rue Morgue. Vampires, Christopher Lee, The Return of Hammer, the 13 years, 100 issues. Good issue. I like the article on Christopher Lee and Hammer. More on Christopher Lee. Been kind of on a Christopher Lee kick lately. And I've got Dracula has risen from his grave. Risen from the grave. And I wanted to get Horror of Dracula, but the copy I found, it was cheap, but the disc was loose and all rolling around inside, and was bound to be scratched up, so that's no good. Really happy. This was an awesome movie, and coincidentally, this movie is rated G, and is a good amount of blood in certain parts of this film. And there's a grave robbing scene where they toss a corpse out of a coffin. I just think it's really hilarious that this movie was rated G, and it has all that nastiness in it. This is a great Christopher Lee vampire movie. Definitely recommend checking this one out. I also recommend checking out Taste the Blood of Dracula. It's kind of I think it's kind of a sequel to Dracula's Risen from the Grave, because it kind of starts off where Dracula's Risen from the Grave ends, and this is actually a two-pack that has Curse of Frankenstein coupled with it, which is another great Christopher Lee Peter Cushing movie. Uh, Peter Cushing plays Frankenstein, and Christopher Lee plays the monster. You can't miss. This two-pack I got at Big Lots for, you guessed it, $3. Great buy for $3. More recent acquisition today at Best Buy, I picked up a copy of the original Gamera movie. This is the first Gamera movie that was released in Japan, and I believe this is one of the first releases of it here in the United States. Great giant monster movie, the first in the Gamera series. Definitely worth checking out if you like giant kaiju Japanese monster movies and giant flying tortoises with fangs. And I'm going to spend the bulk of the rest of this movie more talking about Herschel Gordon Lewis. I'm actually going to start off with a movie that involves Herschel Gordon Lewis and has a couple of scenes with him. It wasn't directed by him, but Herschel Gordon Lewis was very involved in this project. It was actually directed by Lee Gordon DeMarbra, and he's actually a really good director. It's like H.G. Lewis himself had directed the film. It models the H.G. Lewis conventions and formula that happen throughout this movie. In fact, this movie is kind of like the unofficial fourth movie in the Blood trilogy, which now would be the Blood Saga if this was the fourth film. It deals with a director and him using dead people and body parts in his film, which is very much like the plot of Color Me Blood Red, which you can actually see some of the artwork from Color Me Blood Red throughout this movie in one of the characters' offices. And playing the director Abel Whitman is in this is famous, very famous from Last House on the Left and House on the Edge of the Park. David Hess, crazy '70s grindhouse actor, and he still has it in this film. He has never lost it. His acting spot on, perfect character, perfect pitch, perfect performance for this movie. I mean, he really gives a stand-up performance, and it's a great comeback for David Hess, and I'm really glad to see him stepping out in a big way again. And again, this is kind of a big homage to H.G. Lewis himself. Definitely worth checking out. This is the Media Blaster Shriek Show releasing Big Surprise. You all know how much I love Media Blasters and their Shriek Show label and their Tokyo Shock label, and just anything they release is gold in my eyes for the most part. But yeah, definitely worth your time and money. Got this at Fry's for under $15. $13 for a brand new movie that had just come out, and it's actually a good movie. Media Blasters, again, my hat's off to you. Keep up the great work. Keep on releasing movies from great directors that are independent, new ideas, and great homages to the classics. Back to Herschel Gordon Lewis. Again, this is another Media Blasters Shriek Show release. This is Blood Feast 2, which is actually a sequel to the first film in the Blood trilogy. So I kind of consider this the second half of that first part of the Blood trilogy, not 5 movies in the series, because, well, this movie takes place in the future. It's a relative of Fuad Ramsey's from the first one, and you can actually see, I'm going to digress a little here. Look at the great artwork on the cover, done by Ghoulish Gary Pullen of Morgue magazine, one of my favorite horror artists of all time. And again, it follows the tradition of the first Blood Feast very closely. Another Herschel Gordon Lewis that follows the formula much like his other films and makes it great fun. Worth checking out, worth your time and money. And this first box set is the Blood trilogy, and it has Blood Feast, 2000 Maniacs, and Color Me Blood Red.